If you're thinking about making the move to Cleveland, Ohio, but you either are a first-time home buyer or maybe you haven't bought in a while, well, in today's video, we're gonna take a look at the buying process. I'm gonna really explain to you what to expect, what to know, and really what it's like buying a house now in 2025. But it is possible to get a tan here. If you're new to the channel and you want to know all there is about living in Cleveland, Ohio, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so that you can be updated when we upload a new video and stay current on all things Cleveland. My name is Kip Sweeney, living in Cleveland, Ohio, powered by Mancuso Homes, eXp Realty. And if you're trying to make the move to Cleveland, Ohio, you're interested in learning about some areas, make sure to give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, whatever it may be. My contact information is in the description box below. Let's connect in some way and I'd be happy to assist you and your move here to Cleveland, Ohio. Or maybe it's a family member, a friend, whoever it may be. I'd be happy to help you in any way possible. But let's jump into this video about the buying process and what you need to know as either a first-time home buyer or someone that just has been maybe out of it for some time. Okay, so first and foremost, the home buying process is a little different than it once was. And some people in different states, I think it was about 7 states at the time, may be used to this. The first thing you have to understand is what to expect when you first speak to an agent. And if you have a good, ethical agent, they are going to review with you what is called the buyer agency agreement. Now, no, especially in eXp, so it may not be with all brokerages, but I can speak from it on the side of eXp, that's who I'm with. We have 3 different types. So the buyer agency agreement is going to basically dictate a couple different things. 1, it's going to talk about the time that you are going to be working with this agent. 2, it's going to talk about where you're looking, what kind of homes you're looking for. Is it residential? Is it land? Is it multifamily? What is that geographic region? Are you a part of any of these already? And then it's going to also continue into talking about how there's a commission, right? So obviously it's always been this way. It's just that the industry was so used to the seller paying the total commission, but there's a chance that for buyers, they might pay some of their buyer agent commission. Now it depends. And some of this could be used to create a better offer for a house. Some of this could be because you agreed to it originally in the agreement and the seller is only offering X amount. Or this could just be because you guys didn't get it all covered by the seller. So there's going to be negotiations and talks about your agency agreement, about your commission with your buying agent. And it's totally negotiable. Just be aware, this is going to be something that you will be speaking about. It's going to be upfront so that it's not hidden, and everyone should know and be on the same page with this. And you should know exactly what to expect and be able to tell your agent, hey, this is what we want to look for. If we can't get this covered by the seller, we may choose to move on. It all depends on the liquid amount, the liquid cash that you guys have and what you're open to do, and all of that. So number 1, you need to be having this conversation with your agent. 1, because it is actually by law required for us to have this conversation, have this document signed before we can even show a house. So it's actually not legal for us to show a home without this agreement signed. And that leads me to the next point about this, is that you need to be aware, if you're not working with me, if you're in a different state, you choose not to work with me in Cleveland, whatever it is, you need to be aware that you have options. So if you want to say, test the waters with this agent, you can say, hey, Mr. Agent, Mrs. Agent, whatever it is, I'm happy to have you show me these 3 homes, but can we make it a single time showing? But a single time showing is just for that one property. It states that, hey, they're privy to the deal if you chose to purchase that property afterward. The agent was the one that kind of showed you it, brought this to your awareness, and made this kind of deal come to fruition by getting into the house and hopefully doing their due diligence and answering your questions. But they're privy to this deal, and because of that, the agreement that you guys have is what you're going to be held liable to. So you have to make sure that you're okay with that and that you're good with the commission, any fees, because sometimes, and I don't know, here in Ohio, a lot of time there's a broker fee, maybe different in other states, but just something to look out for and to pay attention to. Now, of course, for anyone that's first-time home buyer, these fees for most agents, that actually I'm trying to think, I don't know anyone personally in my network that charges, but all of this, working with these agents, should be free. You shouldn't be necessarily working with an agent that's going to charge you. Now, they shouldn't be, someone that's going to charge you because A, they might get a little lackadaisical with their work, and B, why should you be charged to, get into a house? So it's only executed contract for a property. So just know that, be comfortable with it, and understand that there is that single time showing where you could say, all right, our relationship, our agreement is only for this property. There's a non-exclusive agreement where there could be you working with that agent, but you put a time frame about 3 months on there. However, this non-exclusive agreement can last for only a month before I choose to cancel it or you choose to cancel it. Because this non-exclusive agreement can be canceled by either party, by either side for any reason. Because yes, as agents, if you're not new and you're experienced, sometimes as agents we will say, hey, this isn't working out, we just don't click, or maybe the agent doesn't feel that you might be serious about the home buying process and you're pulling us away from maybe their other clients and so on. So yes, an agent can say, hey, I'm sorry, I don't want to work with you any longer. We're going to cancel this agreement. But at the same time, you guys, as the buyer, can also do the same. But then third, there's the exclusive buyer agency agreement, which is where you are kind of locked in with that agent. So if you're going to be signing this, and the only time if I ever do have someone sign this, is if we've been working for quite some time. Let's say we're 6-7 months into our search, and I've already put all this time in. I don't want them just all of a sudden saying, hey, we're not going to be working with you any longer. So that's the only time that I would really put exclusive agreement into play, because I feel the value that I bring, I would feel comfortable doing a non-exclusive, thinking that my value is something that you appreciate and that you're open to respecting. I also do that to make sure that they're comfortable as well. However, I would be curious to know what you guys think about that, because am I reading too far into that logically, or is that something you'd appreciate as a client or as a customer? Let me know about that in the comments below. All right, number 2, so the next thing, it's gonna be a mix of a couple things. It's getting your financials correct, your financials in place, ready to go. That's checking your credit score, making sure that you are okay for, a loan. That's checking your liquid cash and just the money that you have, because you have to take into consideration, it's not just your mortgage. You're paying property taxes, you're paying insurance, a homeowners association fee, possibly a maintenance fee. So there's a couple extra fees that go into that monthly payment. Sometimes those other fees, the HOA and the association/maintenance, can be biannually, or it could be at a year. So that may not be monthly. And I know sometimes taxes can be paid fully at the full year. So it's just something to think about. Every situation is different. So maybe those aren't necessarily in there, but you're gonna have to have a lump sum for them when they come, all of that. So it's something to think about and something to prepare for. You wanna make sure that you have the money and you feel comfortable with that. And this is kind of where the lender part comes in, because you're gonna need to get pre-approved. In today's day and age, sellers want to see the pre-approval when they look over offers, because it helps them ensure that they have a serious buyer. Anyone can write up and say, I'm gonna buy your house for $750,000, but who says they're gonna get the money for a $750,000 home, right? And so being able to see that, and still things can fall through with the pre-approval. However, for a seller, it gives a little bit more certainty, a little bit more comfort that, all right, hey, if they've done a little bit of work towards getting that, I feel a little bit more comfortable than someone just saying all willy-nilly, hey, here you go. So that's something to keep in mind. So we're gonna check our financials, we're gonna work with our lender, we're gonna talk to our lender, get pre-approved, because the pre-approval process is also gonna help you learn more about your financials and what that looks like. So your debt to income ratio, you're gonna be able to learn a little bit more about your buying power and where your budget lands and what the bank's gonna give you, and a little extra considering each lender has different fees, so you'll be able to kind of learn what to expect with origination fees, how much you're gonna have to pay them, because there's also the cost of closing costs. So again, I'm not gonna get into the specifics, because there's times where you can get closing costs covered by the seller, there's times where you're gonna get a credit from the seller, and there's times where you might get an amazing incentive from a lender, and you might qualify for a special program. So all this stuff aside, let's just say it's a normal transaction, you're gonna be paying closing costs. And that can range, from 2 to all the way up to 6% even as a buyer. So take your down payment, take the closing costs of 2 to 6%, depending on a lot of different variables that you may have to add onto your down payment, and then also take into consideration your monthly payment as well. So you really wanna be financially set, you wanna be comfortable, you wanna understand, okay, I would almost argue you already have kind of your criteria set as the number one thing, but I know that sometimes that stuff also kind of requires the knowledge of, hey, what is your purchasing power? So, sometimes you might have already discussed that with your agent in step number 1, but it's also something that might change A in step number 2, and B, searching for homes. It does change over time, but having the financial plan set up and understanding, hey, what does that monthly look like? What am I comfortable doing monthly is a huge help to yourself being comfortable to make those payments, because the last thing we want is default. And of course, to the agent, to us, because we understand what we should be searching for you. And we also understand how we need to kind of structure an offer to make sure that it's a good competitive offer, but also in favor of making sure that it fits your current lifestyle and position appropriately. All right, so number 3 is finding your team. So getting the right agent for you. It is very, very important that you find an agent that clicks with you. So you want to make sure you're going to be with them a lot. You're going to be with them when you're seeing homes. So that's however many homes that you have to see that you're going to see them, and you're going to be around them. You have the whole time that you're under contract, making sure that everything goes smoothly when you offer something and you get that offer accepted, and then the X amount of days after until you close. And honestly, after that, they really should be connecting with you after your sale to make sure that everything is okay, to make sure you've moved in all right. Are there any problems? So making sure you're working with the right people, the right agents. I would love to assist you, obviously, here in Cleveland. If we don't click, if we're not right fit for each other, I'll help you and recommend some people for you nonetheless. If you need people out of state and you're looking for some good agents, again, I can help you and I can recommend them. Just let me know. But being able to interview them, you can certainly interview your agents. You can speak to them, get an idea of what they're like. This is why I do these videos, so that for the most part, you can see who I am and my personality. Go stalk my Instagram if you want. Go stalk your agent's Instagram. Go check their Facebook. Do all that stuff. My stuff is all public so that people can get a good sense of who I am. Just a quirky, kind of ADD filled person. I mean, it's like a puppy dog almost, in the sense. I just love to joke around, and obviously I'm serious when I need to be, but I also like to make this experience less overwhelming for you and try to make it as fun as I can, because it is truly an amazing process and it's not something you're going to be doing over and over and over and over again. So I want to make sure that you have a great experience throughout. Because not only that, when you're going in and you're looking at the house and you're looking at, okay, furniture can go here, the layout's like this, I can see myself sleeping here, king bed fits in this bedroom. We're going to be, or most good agents are going to be looking at the walls, the outlets, the flooring, looking at the cabinetry, and all of the other stuff to make sure that, okay, the walls look good, you don't see any water damage, there's nothing wrong with the electrical based on the outlets, the colors, based on what we see at the electrical panel, hot water tank looks good, X, Y, and Z, all these different things. The basement's not bowing, all of this stuff, especially here in Cleveland or in a state or a city where it might be a little bit of older homes. Like we have a lot of mid-century and century homes here in Cleveland. So really understanding what to look for and what to understand when looking at the house is imperative to make sure that you're not going to get stuck. Obviously, there's an inspection. There are inspections that help too, and that's part of it. But if there's nothing that's too crazy, you don't want to risk the chance of losing your earnest money because your agent didn't catch anything, they didn't explain something, or because of something else that might have been easily seen or smelled or noticed when you walk the house with your agent. So it's very, very important to do that and to make sure you have the right person. And this agent can also help you with the lenders. If you didn't already have one in step 1, they can help you with the lender, or step 2, I guess it was technically, but they can help you with the lenders as well and make sure that you get your recommendations. Always have someone recommend you 3 at the very least, because you should be able to, again, interview them. You want to talk to those lenders and say, what are you offering? Here's my situation. What do you have? Are there any programs? What do your rates look like? You want to be able to interview those lenders as well. If they only give you one person, that's a little sketchy, and I wouldn't feel very comfortable with that, because there might be something going on behind the scenes of some sort of affiliation that they have, which should be disclosed, but nonetheless, it might be like, hey, I'll send you them if you send me others, type of thing. So just know that, just make sure that you are free to interview everyone and anyone, to make sure you're choosing and working with the people that make you comfortable and that you want to be associated with and that you want to be around. So generating that good, solid team is imperative. Number 4, the house hunting. So this is all something that I'm sure you guys already expect and understand and have a process in place and have some thoughts on, but something that's helpful, make a must-have list and a want list. So the must-haves is that what you absolutely need in the house. And of course, the wants are, some extras that would be nice, but you can live without. So this can really help the agent narrow down and help you find the right house much more easily, because looking at 15, 20 homes is not the way to do it. You're looking at way too many houses. You're not going to remember them all, and it's going to be really, really difficult to keep track. And of course, at that point, your agent may also start to speculate whether you're serious or not. So something you're going to need to think about and something that you're going to have to pay attention to. But a good agent, and what they do say is, and market depending, a good agent could help you find that house, that perfect home, in like 3 to 5 houses, asking the right questions, getting the right criteria, to making the right search. They should really be able to make that happen. Now, of course, it depends. If you understand the area, if you know where everything is, and if you're from there, okay, I can see it happening. But the hard part for someone, say, moving to a new state or to a new city is not knowing the neighborhoods, not knowing the areas yet. And that's also part of this. So not are you trying to figure out what you want in a house, but what do you want in a location? What do you want in a neighborhood? How far away do you want work to be? How far away do you want the local amenities to be? The food, the groceries, the shopping, all of that. How far away of a drive? How big of a neighborhood? Do you want an HOA? Do you not want an HOA? All these things are stuff that you need to take into consideration. So you really need to pay attention to not only the way the house is staged, the way it looks, the way it appears, the way it shows, but do I like the street? Do I like where it's at? Do I like the city? Do I like what it has to offer and what the neighborhood has to offer? And of course, looking and making sure that you're not going to be overpaying or paying for a home that may not appreciate because of the street. You know, paying attention to see what else is on the street and what those look like as well. You don't always want to make sure, you don't always want to rush into something and find out that your house isn't going to appreciate because maybe it is the nicest house in the block. Now, if that's something that's not important to you, then okay. But if it's something where it's like, hey, I do want this appreciation to happen, it may not appreciate as fast because you're actually helping all the others appreciate. So a lot of this stuff is something that you need to consider. The house is beautiful. The house can be gorgeous, but it may not be in the right spot. It may not have everything you need. It may not be in the city you want or have the specific drive to the grocery store that you might like. So again, pay attention to those things. It's really important that you understand your neighborhood and you understand what it's going to be like living there. Alrighty, number 5, we found the right home and now we've made an offer. We're making an offer, right? So you and your agent are talking about how much you want to offer, what this house is going to look like. An agent should go ahead and they should start pulling some comparables, and based on what they see, what sold, what's in the city, what's nearby, all that type of stuff, they should be able to tell you what that house or what they expect for that house to go for. So it's something that's going to help you be able to make the right offer and to also teach you how competitive and aggressive you might have to get. So of course, everyone knows buyers, sellers markets, but that all determines how strong of an offer, how crazy you might have to get with an offer, and things like that. So it's going to be imperative that you really speak through everything with your agent to make sure that you're happy with your offer price, your earnest money. So again, maybe for first-time home buyers, earnest money is going to be the good faith money per se. It's the money that you're going to put down, showing the seller that you're serious about this house. You're saying, hey, I'm going to give you X amount. You deposit it as soon, pretty much after an agreed purchase, within 3 days or sooner. You deposit that into escrow. And so usually here in Ohio, where it's usually held by a title company. And so what's going to happen is that money is held. It's the good faith. It shows the seller that you have skin in the game and that you're serious about this house. So some people might get all crazy and willy-nilly with it and offer an insane amount. But normally here in Ohio, it's about 1 to 3% of the purchase price. Now you can see a higher price depending on how serious and how badly they want the home, because sometimes it can aid into creating a stronger offer. The seller is going to like to see, let's say, $5,000 of earnest money rather than $1,000 of earnest money. So it's something to also take into consideration. But again, it's everything that we speak with you as an agent to make sure that you understand, okay, this is what we might want to do to make this offer more attractive. So the earnest money, all right? So you're going to talk about the purchase price, the earnest money. You're going to talk about your contingencies. Hey, do you need to, close by a certain time, or does the seller need to have some possession of the home past closing date? And are you okay with that? What things in the house stay with it? The appliances, the washers, the dryers, things of that nature. How long is your inspection period? Is it 5 days? Is it 7 days? Is it 10 days? What kind of inspections are you getting? Are you just doing a general home inspection or a radon test, or are you checking the sewers? All that type of stuff. And then there's a little bit of extra things. There can be extra contingencies as well that you guys can add in additional terms, right? And this could be seller concessions. Are they going to give you some money back and help aid towards closing costs or paying your buyer agent or whatever it may be? You can choose that after, but are you guys going to talk about getting some of that money back? Or are you going to say, hey, seller to leave the hot tub or something like that? That would be an additional term talking about what they're going to leave versus what they're going to take. Or another additional term, something else that you might put in there that again, depending on the market, some people might offer, and depending on who you are, is whether or not earnest money is refundable through inspection or not. So sometimes a lot of investors might, out-of-state investors especially, might like that comfort of having that earnest money refuttable outside of their inspection. So again, that is another thing, additional term. So again, all these depend on the market, they depend on the house, they depend on how competitive that house is, the demand that that house is drawing. But again, this is stuff that the agent is going to speak with you about to make sure that you can make the strongest offer possible, and to make sure you're aware and ready to make that offer. And of course, you can go and speak with your lender with this offer and say, hey, what does this look like, Mr. or Mrs. Lender, and how much am I going to be paying per month for this home with this type of deal? So again, another thing that you're going to think about, it's just going to be aid in more knowledge. That extra knowledge can really help gain comfort so that you aren't, going into everything a little too nervous or being too scared behind it all, because it is a big decision. Nonetheless, I mean, no one can take that away from anyone. No one can say it's not, but that's something that you need to think about. So this offer really has a lot of components to it that you can change up, that you can decide upon to make sure that you're either getting a strong offer in, or you might say, okay, let's try it at this price and negotiate a little bit, or maybe it's a complete buyer's market and you're able to really determine what it is that you want in this offer. All right, next up, offer is in, got it accepted. Congratulations. Now it's for the contingencies to take place, specifically the inspection. Now, if you have this inspection, you have X amount of days to get it done, to review the report, and to talk to the seller to negotiate what you may have heard. So some things, usually a lot of sellers are going to sell as is, and that's how it is. So sometimes they will only accept an offer with inspections being for knowledge only, but a lot of times when you get the inspection done, you can go back and say, hey, we found this and this wasn't part of the deal. Nobody knew about this. So I'd like for you to either, give me a credit back so I can take care of it myself after close, or you might have to take care of it yourself, Mr. Seller, and then show me the receipt that you took care of it yourself so that I can have that and make sure it is done. So the inspection takes place. Another kind of contingency per se. So in many cities here that end with Heights, Cleveland Heights, Shaker Heights, Lakewood has it as well, so I know that's not a Heights, but basically you can expect what's called a point of sale contingency. So point of sale is something that is usually done when house is being rented, but this is something that's going to happen upon the sale. It's going to be checked upon by the city, and they're going to make an inspection that they're going to ask for X, Y, and Z to be done so it's compliant before title can be transferred. And this is also something that you might have to negotiate with the seller, saying, okay, no, you take the point of sale and make those repairs and get it rechecked and get it approved, or okay, fine, Mr. Seller, I'll take those things, but you have to give me X amount credit back, or they might just expect the buyer to take it fully. So the point of sale is something that's not in every city and it's not in every deal, but it's something that you might have to be aware of here in the Cleveland market. All right, so another contingency would be the appraisal, right? You offered maybe over ask on a house and the seller accepted that over ask, but you don't have an appraisal addendum or appraisal gap, and maybe let's say you offered $350 on a $325,000 home. Well, the appraisal comes in at $340. Okay, well, shoot. Now there's some things that we have to talk about because you're not going to get the loan for that right? You're not getting a $350 loan. So now that purchase price either has to come down, and you have to talk to that about the seller, or you have to pay a $10,000 gap to make that appraisal gap up, or you can essentially just walk away. That isn't advised, but usually you've made it this far. Everyone's gotten this far. Nobody wants to see this fizzle out, fall through. So typically you guys will come to some sort of conclusion, and the seller, understanding, okay, my house didn't appraise for that much, will be more than likely, not saying they all do because some do not, but more than likely to work with you and say, okay, let's come down to the appraisal amount at $340. So that's another contingency that you have to be prepared for. And of course, this is going to be when you start to finalize your home insurance. So you really don't want to kick the tires on getting quotes and finding the best prices. You're going to want to make sure that you are prepared and ready to go with this, and that you're happy with it and you're comfortable with that price. So you start getting prices, numbers, and you're going to start to narrow it down what you want and where you want to be at for this as well. And then of course there's any other inspections that might be needed depending on the contract, depending on the general home inspector and what they suggested, and so on. So all of this is happening during this time. And sometimes you have 30 days, sometimes you have 45 days, sometimes you only have 20 days, 15 days. It all depends on the offer, what you guys have agreed upon. But it's something that you're gonna move fast on, or continue to move through, and be prepared for each of these stops and each of these inspections, these tests, these contingencies, and have them kind of checked off as you pass them. So along with all these contingencies, you're also going to be entering into some communication with the title company, as we use here in Ohio, and they're going to be handling a lot of things. They're going to be asking you for your escrow. They're going to be asking for some paperwork. They're going to be making sure that your title is going to be clean, and that, you know, there wasn't anyone that is going to come. They're not going to try to come knock on your door and say, hey, this is mine, like I own this. And, you know, they're going to make sure that they're going to check the abstract. They're going to make sure that the title is clean, that the chain of title is also clean, and everything is, they're going to make sure that the title for your home will be appropriately transferred, because part of it is having a marketable title on the seller side, and that's part of their search, making sure that everything is there and that it is safe to be able to say, hey, yeah, you're good to go and there's not going to be any issues. So title is a big part of it as well. I think it's number 7, keeping your finances steady. You're under contract. You can wait 30 days to purchase a new car. You can wait 30 days to open a new credit card. You can wait 30 days to get your credit pulled for a loan. Well, I guess you are going to get that for your house, but for a different loan, right? So, I mean, you have to stay consistent. You cannot be out there spending money all crazy, you know, just saying, hey, you get one, you get one, you get one. No, you gotta be careful. You gotta pay attention. You can't just go out there and give all this money away, because it can hinder your debt to income ratio, and your lender may end up saying, sorry, no deal. Or you may end up to pay more, you may get a worse rate, all this stuff. So you really, really, really have to be careful. Just be smart, lock up your finances, throw the key in, I don't know, somewhere safe where you're gonna be able to unlock that sucker later on, but make sure that it's somewhere where you're gonna be comfortable. Make sure you're not out there going crazy with money, and just take those 30 days and save as much as possible. It's gonna be a great time to try to save it all, and then obviously you're gonna be paying your mortgage once, you know, you close. But don't be crazy with money, just relax with it. You know, don't be going crazy at the bars, or you know, going and having Michelin star restaurants and all this other stuff. Be frugal for 30 days, be cheap. I don't care what your friends say, just give them my number and let them trash talk me or something, I don't know. But just chill, relax, and make sure that you can get to the closing table and still get your rate, your loan, and be able to close. Because many times people have done some dumb things, and that house is gone, and people are not happy. So just make sure you're paying attention to that. Be careful. And if there is anything imperative, anything huge that has to happen, let your lender know, speak to them, be transparent, and make sure you're upfront with them, because that will also help and go some way. All right, the last thing here is closing. So some of you guys might have already bought a house, and you understand right before closing, there's 2 things that will happen. A, you're gonna get a closing disclosure to tell you everything to expect and what to know and what money to bring and what needs to be deposited and all that type of stuff and how much you're gonna be paying. But B, you're also probably gonna be doing a walkthrough of the house right before closing as well. So it could be the day before, it could be 2 days before, or even 3 days before closing. But you're gonna do that walkthrough to make sure everything looks good, it's the same condition, it wasn't beaten up by the seller and trashed or anything of that nature, or you know, nothing different than what it was when you guys first went under contract, because that could cause some issues if it's different condition. There's places in the contract where that is a problem. So this walkthrough is important. It's nice because A, you didn't see the house if it wasn't already vacant. You didn't see the house prior, so with it not being vacant, you now get a good idea of what to expect, and you can, you know, think about your own furniture being in there. But B, you can see what the walls are not like. You can see what everything looks like now that the furniture's out. There's nothing else to be left to bang it up, except for maybe your own stuff if you bring it in, you know, stuff like that. But so that will happen. And then of course, closing day. So closing day here in Ohio, we use title companies. So there's 2 things that can happen is A, either you can choose to sign in person. Sometimes they may make you sign in person. So you're gonna either go to the title company and sign, and they'll take you through all the paperwork, or B, they can have a notary come to you, or C, if you don't have to sign in person, you can actually choose to sign via .loop or online electronically, and you can close that way as well. So there's a couple different ways to close. It's totally dependent upon each person. It's different each case and per lender and all that. So it's something that you have to take into consideration as well, because you're gonna want to have that day planned. You're gonna want to have that day free. You're gonna want to be able to make sure that you can sign, you can take care of all that stuff, because nothing can happen without getting that stuff squared away and getting that stuff under control and getting that stuff signed, of course. You're gonna get, you know, your closing fees here. You're gonna have all these funds ready, and you're gonna pay that stuff that we were talking about earlier, and making sure you're ready with that money. And they'll tell you that, and so you will be prepared a couple days prior. And of course, later in the day, depending upon your contract, once again, or the purchase agreement, when you guys disclose, the keys will be transferred. That's when you will then also hopefully meet with your agent, and they will hand you the keys to your new house, and you are officially locked in. You're able to do whatever you like and take care of it You can move right in, you can take a couple days to move in, you can renovate, you can do whatever it is you like, but now you have the keys to your new home. Congratulations, and it's all yours. It's time to pop champagne and go back to spending the same way you once were. So enjoy it. Alrighty guys, so that is a wrap on the buying process. If you're a first-time home buyer, or if you haven't bought in a while, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Just know though, and no matter where you're buying, just know it's not gonna be uncommon to go through these spurts of, you know, a lot of communication, and then it's gonna be quiet for a little, then a lot of communication, and so on. Obviously, you're gonna be communicating a ton with your agent when you're finding that house, making that offer. You're gonna go under contract, and during, let's say, those 30 days, there's gonna be times during the inspection and getting that stuff where it's gonna be pretty busy, but let's say you clear inspections and some other contingencies, appraisal is good, then for a little short time, there's gonna be time where it's just pretty quiet. You know, it kind of feels weird. It's a little like, should I be doing something? But it's a little quiet during the time. Say hi, say hello to your agent, you know, check in, make sure life is good, but it's gonna be a little quiet. But don't be scared, don't be fearful. The quietness is normal. There is that time where it is that, you know, it is just like that. And then of course it's gonna pick up again once it comes closer to closing, and you're gonna be making sure the walkthrough looks good. You're gonna get ready for the closing disclosure and making sure that is all okay, or if you have any questions, and of course you're gonna sign off on that and make sure you're squared away. So just things that you have to keep in mind. It's all of this together that you have to pay attention to. Just make sure that what you're doing is always being communicated and you're just transparent with your agent so that you can be comfortable throughout the entire process, because that is the most important thing, to make sure that you have a great experience and that you're comfortable in what can be an overwhelming process. But that is it. That is a wrap. I hope this helps you. If it does, please leave a comment, subscribe, leave a like, and let me know what you want to hear about next. And please share it with family, friends, or anyone else you might know. All right, I'll see you in the next video.